Hi everyone, welcome to the AP2V Academy. I'm Sachin Saini. I'll be your instructor for the RHCSA and RHCE course content. I have been in IT for the last 3 years and working with AP2V Academy for last 2.5 years as an instructor. AP2V Academy provides a training in all trending technologies and the trending programming languages. And the RHCSA and the RHCSE is one of them. Okay. Now, the duration of this code content will be 3 months here. And now, in case of RHCSA, we will learn about the normal administration of the Linux and machines. And in RHCSA, we will learn about the Ansible tool here. In case of RHCSA, we have to cover two modules here. The first one is the SA1, the second one is SA2. But in case of RHCSA, we have to cover only the one module. The total in the whole course content, we have to cover 3 modules here. And I have also done a certification in RHCSA, Red Hat Certified System Administrator, and I have also done a certification as a RHCE, Red Hat Certified Engineer. And now we will cover the course content in next 3 months, okay? And now who can do this course content if you don't have any knowledge inside the Linux operating system? We will learn from the scratch level. Just you can simply join this course and you will get the full knowledge of the Linux. What topics would we gonna cover inside this course content? The first one, this is a SA1 course content I have told you, because in a RHCSA we have to cover 2 modules. In the first module, what chapters would we gonna cover? So these are the chapters here. In chapter 1, we will learn about the Linux, actually what is a Linux operating system and why we are using Linux and what are the benefits and the advantage of the using a Linux here. In chapter 2, we will learn about the accessing the command line. And what is actually is we will also learn about the hierarchy of the Linux file system here, okay, and what are the differences between the windows, how can you simply use all these things using a command line. Inside the chapter 2, we will learn about this. After that, we will learn about the chapter 3 in managing files from the command line, okay. And in this chapter, what we're gonna cover, in this chapter, we will learn about the describing Linux file system hierarchy concepts. Okay, how can you simply create links between your files? So there's a multiple ways. We will also learn about the basics command and as well as inside the chapter 3. In chapter 4, we will learn about the getting help in Red Hat Enterprise Linux. What is actually is it? If when you will use some commands here, so sometimes you have to change the behavior of your command. And on that point, you're gonna use some options to change the behavior of a command. But I will explain you how can you simply fetch all the options. Okay, you don't want to learn anything here. Only you have to know the approach. How can you simply check out all the options of using your commands? So we will learn those type of documentation inside the chapter 4. In chapter 5, we will learn about how can you simply create, view, and edit your text file. So what does it mean? If you want to create some text file, okay, if you like to modify some text file, if you like to modify some configuration file, so on that point, just in case if you are a Windows user, so what do you want to use? You can simply use a notepad to edit your file. But in case of command line, in case of Linux-based operating system, so we will use a command line editor. Just an example, we will learn VI, Vim, and the Nano. So you can use any one of them, and using those editors, you can modify your file. After that, we will learn about the chapter 6. In chapter 6, we will learn about the user management as well as how can you simply create your groups. So once if you want to create some users and you want to assign those users inside a single group and you want to give some permissions to that particular group. Or either if you want to create a pseudo user, you want to give a permissions to that user become a pseudo. So how can you do all these things? So we will learn inside the chapter 6. In chapter 7, we will learn about the controlling access to files. And now this is actually all about the permissions, which user can access a particular file and which user cannot be accessed that particular file. So you have to give the permissions on file as well as on the directory using this chapter 7. In chapter 8, we will learn about the monitoring and the managing Linux processes. And what is actually a process is, when you're gonna execute any file, okay, when you're gonna execute any application file or a script file, so that particular file will create a process in the backend. So how can you simply manage those processes using the command line? We will learn inside the chapter 8. In chapter 9, we will learn about the controlling service and the daemons. Okay, if you are running a server setup, okay, the server could be anything. You can simply deploy a Apache server, Samba, RHCSA, whatever you can simply take an example. And how can you simply manage those services inside in your machine? how can you simply manage your daemons using the new tool. Okay, so we'll learn inside the chapter 9. In chapter 10, we will learn about the configuring and the securing OpenSSL server. Now, this chapter is all about if you would like to take a remote connection from one machine to another, okay, without password or with password, how can you take the connections over the machine? So we will learn inside the chapter 10. In chapter 11, we will learn about the analyzing and store logs. And now this is all about, let's suppose if you are running an application server on your machines and you would like to store your all logs in a particular directory in your customized way. So how can you analyze your logs? What problem has been occurring inside your application server? So you can simply learn inside the chapter 11. In chapter 12, we will learn about the managed networking. And now in this chapter, we will learn how can you simply set up a network on top of a Linux box. Okay, if your machine is not working inside a network, so how can you deploy a network on top of your machine using the command lines? So we will learn inside a chapter 12. In chapter 13, we will learn about the how can you simply create archives and how can you transfer those archives from one machine to another machine using the SSH backend protocol. In chapter 14, we will learn about how can you simply install softwares and the packages in your machine, because in case of RHCL you have to create a local yum repository. Okay, what does it mean? You have to install your packages from the inbuilt ISO file what you have already downloaded when you have installed your operating system. How can you configure the yum to download the packages? We will learn chapter 40. In chapter 15, we will learn about the accessing Linux file systems. Okay, so just in case if you are Windows user, in case of Windows, we were working on WFAT, FAT32 and the NTFS. But in case of Linux, the default file system, we will learn about the XFS, EXT series file system. So we will learn those type of file system here. And what is actually a file system? Just if you would like to use your storage device, before that you have to mount. Okay, and that actually we will learn inside the chapter 15 as well as. In chapter 16, we will learn about the analyzing servers and the getting support. Now, let's suppose if you are working 5 to 10 servers or multiple servers, would you like to manage, would you like to analyze from a single machine? So what software would we gonna use to manage your whole server from a single machine, and how can you simply get a support from a Red Hat? So we will learn inside the chapter 16 here. After that, we have to cover the second module, the SA2, that is also a part of the RHCSA. And now in this module, we will learn a little bit advanced from the chapter module 1. In chapter 1, we will also cover the bash scripting here. This is that chapter 1 is all cover the bash scripting. In this chapter, we will learn how can you simply automate your task using the bash script here. We will also learn about the regular expressions. How can you simply use regex inside the bash scripting? So we will also learn these things here. In chapter 2, we will learn about the scheduling your future tasks. Let's suppose you have already created a bash script to take a backup at midnight 12 p.m. Okay, but you want to schedule that particular task. Your task should be executed automatically without user interaction. So you can simply schedule those tasks according to your requirement. So we will learn inside the chapter 12, inside the chapter 2, those things. In chapter 3, we will learn about the how can you simply tune your machines for a better performance. In chapter 4, we will learn about the ACL, and what is actually ACL is, this is the access control list. And now this you can simply say this is advanced permission we will learn here. Who will be able to access some particular files and who will not be able to access those files in directory. So we can simply define the ACLs for that. And the next chapter is all about the SE Linux security. Okay, and this is a security enhanced Linux, or either we can say this is a second layer security of the Linux based operating system. So it will provide some policies to manage your machines. So we will also learn about the SE Linux, and now this is all about the security concepts. In chapter 6, we will learn about the managing basic storage, and what we learn here, we will learn how can you simply create a partitions using the MBR and the GPT partition table. How can you simply create a swap? So we will learn all these things inside the chapter 6. The next one, we will learn about the managing logical volume. This is all about the LVM concept. Okay, if you have a 2 physical storage device and you want to create a one single partition using both of them, So that was actually LBM concept is, and there's a multiple benefit of using LBM as well as the normals. We will learn all the coins and the prawns inside the chapter 7 of the LBM. In chapter 8, we will learn about the implementing the video and the strategies as well as, because the strategies will provide the dynamic file system to you and the video provide the three type of technologies to you. The first one is deduplication, compression, and the zero block elimination, or either you can simply say thin provisioning. So we will learn all these things inside the chapter 8, okay, to implement a better storage on top of your servers. After that, we will learn about the NFS, chapter 9. If you would like to share some data from one machine to your network, if you like to share some directories or whatever you would like to share, so we will learn all these things inside the chapter 9. It's all about the NFS, network file system. In chapter 10, we will learn about the controlling the boot process of the Linux machine, okay, how a Linux machine will start. If you are stuck in somewhere, you are not able to start your machine, okay, if you have done some wrong configurations in your machine or you're not able to start your machine, so how can you troubleshoot your machine, we will learn inside the chapter 10. The next, we will learn about the firewall security. So firewall G is a service what we're gonna learn inside the chapter 11. So how can you simply create a different type of rules, inbound, outbound, and forward, using the different channels. So we will learn all about the firewall. Okay, we can simply block the unwanted traffic of our machine here using the chapter 11. After that, the last chapter we will learn inside the second module is installation of the enterprise Linux. It's all about the RHCL installation. Okay, so how can you simply install an operating system? And either we will also learn how can you simply automate the installation using the kickstart files. Okay, using the Anaconda or whatever you can simply use. You can also install operating system using the cockpit software. So these are different type of installation you will learn inside the chapter 12. So these are the course content of the RHCSA. And now after once you have done the RHCSA, you can also go for a certification as well as. Once you will get the certification, you can simply learn the SA3, and now this is all about the Red Hat certified engineer. Okay, in this course content, we will learn about the Ansible. Okay, in RHL 8, the Ansible has been come. Ansible is a automation configuration tool. And now what is actually Ansible? We will learn about, let's suppose, if you would like to deploy multiple servers from your machine. So how can you do that? So you can simply use Ansible there. You can simply install an Ansible on top single managed node, and from single managed node, you can simply configure multiple machines using the one machine. So in case of Ansible, we will learn about the what is actually Ansible inside chapter 1. After that, we have to go for a deploying your Ansible. So how can you simply install Ansible on top of your Linux boxes? After that, we will learn the chapter 3. At the chapter 3, we will learn about the implementations of the playbook. What is actually a playbook is? So playbook is, let's suppose if you like to deploy some, if you like to do some task, so that's a collection, that a collection of the task is called a playbook. Now in chapter 4, we will learn about the managing variable and the facts. And this is all about the facts. If you like to store some facts about the managed nodes, what are you gonna control here? So we will learn all about the facts here. How can you simply create your secrets? How can you simply use Ansible Vault as well as there? Implementing task control. Let's suppose you want to deploy a particular task, but according to the some conditions. Let's suppose you have a different managed nodes. Okay, you have a RHL machine, you have a Ubuntu machine, and you want to install some different type of software using some conditions. So how can you simply execute those conditions to deploy your playbooks? In chapter 6, we will learn about the deploying files to manage nodes. So here we will learn about the Jinja2 template. Okay, Jinja2 template is used to configure any web server or any server, not a web server. You can simply use some Jinja2 templates. Okay, you have to define some variables and the facts. Once the template will be executed, so you can simply deploy the template here. In chapter 7, you will learn about the managing large project. Okay, and what is actually large project? It does not actually only we will learn here. Let's suppose if you have a multiple machines, what you want to deploy. Let's suppose if you have hundreds and thousands of machines you want to deploy. So how can you simply configure the parallelism to reduce the execution time? So all these parameters we will learn inside the chapter 7. In chapter 8, we will learn about the simplifying your playbooks with roles. So it's all about the roles. Inside the roles, we will learn, we will create different hierarchy. Okay, inside the roles, you have to learn about the one hierarchy here. In the hierarchy, what we want to store, we have to store handlers in a different file. We have to store task in a different file, variable in different files. So we're gonna use that particular role inside the different playbook. So that's actually a roles is. And roles is a very beautiful structure you have or know inside the Ansible, because if you want to do anything, then always might be you have to create roles for that. After that, in chapter 9, we will learn about the troubleshooting of the Ansible. How can you simply troubleshoot your Ansible? So we will learn inside the chapter 9. And the last chapter, we will learn about the automating Linux administration task using the Ansible. Let's suppose you want to create users and you want to set up a boot process, okay? Or either you would like to create some partitions and network configuration. So all these normal administration tasks you can simply do along using the Ansible configuration. Okay, so this is the course content what we're gonna cover in next 3 months. So this is all about for me. Thank you.